Hi, I'm Gabe.
And I'm Kat.
And we're
The Ghouls Next Door.
Talk about that spooky stuff.
As we do.
Happy New Year!
Yay!
Bum, 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 bum. Wow, you made it a whole year around the sun. We did it.
We didn't die.
We did not.
You know, no one ate our kids. No
You
one had
don't
kids.
know. You don't know if anyone ate someone's kids.
I'm just saying, in our immediate circle of life,
Yeah.
none of that happened.
No one ate our kids.
We didn't witness any of that stuff. No one was possessed. No one was evil. No one did all that stuff to our knowledge. And that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that is cool.
Yeah.
Happy New Year, Ghoul Scouts. I'm so happy that you're here spending your New Year's with us. It's very nice.
Yeah, I'm really happy about it too.
Imagine wearing glittery clothes, and there's confetti and balloons and balls that drop.
And everyone's screaming.
Everyone is screaming.
Ah!
And everyone's also planning, you know?
It's normal.
Because it's a new year. So everyone has New Year's resolutions.
Yeah.
Do you have New Year's resolutions, listener? Write us. Wait, they are. Tell us on the social medias.
Use your face, mouth, and your hands to
Either one.
do that. And
Give
let
us
us
a
know
call.
what your thoughts are about
Call
things.
in right now.
Yeah.
The lines are open. There's no lines. The lines are in the past.
Telepathically. Tell us.
Yeah. And cool.
Nice.
Someone out there, I bet, has that New Year, New Me mentality.
Yeah.
And
Bet you that's their Facebook status.
yeah.
New
This
year,
year,
new
New
me,
Year,
y'all.
New Me. You know what?
Look at my face. It's new now because it's New Year, New Me.
Exactly. And I agree. I say this whole month, January, let's do it. Let's New Year, New Us. Let's talk about the new year and the
Who are
new.
we, guys?
Who is it?
Who do we want to be?
Who are we really ever?
Yeah. I feel like I'm not really me. This is new me. New me is different.
New Year is different.
New Year's different. New Year.
You.
New me. I'm different now, Gabe.
Oh.
Look in my eyes.
Yeah.
Do I look different?
No.
Good.
Okay.
It's a secret. that I'm
Deceiving.
different. Yeah.
Yeah. This
What
is.
about you? What's your stuff?
What is it? Well,
Tell me.
this new year we're talking about new me, and we're gonna be covering some topics revolving around people changing.
Yeah.
Not always for the better,
Yeah.
but they are a different person by the end. Is essentially whether that's emotionally or horrifically physically,
Yeah.
or it's an imposter. Who knows?
Yeah. Just new you know. Just
Someone's walking
just doing
around
something different.
in an Edgar suit. Sugar water. And we think it's Edgar, but it's not. It's actually an alien, and Men in Black have to show up. You don't know.
Yeah.
So our first episode in this series is going to gravitate around this idea of transforming and empowering yourself by any means necessary and against all odds.
Yeah. So inspirational.
Yes.
Yeah.
But think more drenched in blood
Yeah.
or devouring the weak.
Because
As
there's a price.
There's a price. We're going to specifically talk about ladies turning monstrous to exact revenge in some way.
Yeah.
Think Carrie from Stephen King.
Yeah.
But instead, we're going to be exploring Jennifer from Jennifer's Body.
Yeah.
And also other ladies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gonna go ruin some lives in our new me times.
Yeah. Because, I mean, so we've talked time and time again about how horror is a great genre for representation of women.
Yeah.
Right? As well as a problematic representation where women are sexualized and our worth and or survivability is contingent upon our virtue and purity.
Yeah.
So it's like, don't have sex or you die.
Yeah.
Scream.
Did you have sex? Hey.
2, did you enjoy it?
Yeah. But did you? And then if you say you didn't, you think that makes you safe? It doesn't.
It doesn't. You're not safe. No one's safe. And that's...
Virgins can die too.
Yeah. Well, essentially, like, promiscuous women don't usually make it to the end of a slasher, right? But these days, we are getting stronger, independent, and sexually awakened women taking charge on screen.
Yeah.
So, and these days, even in the past. I mean, Alien also did that. And this is, with horror, this is now our chance to be the hero, to fight and survive until the end, to keep our wits about us when the rest of the world goes to shit.
Yeah.
It's an opportunity for women to exact our revenge, to make up for lost time, fight against the patriarchy, all of that good stuff. And what better way to do that than in a horrifying way?
Yeah. You know, really just go out, guys. Find a demon.
Yeah.
Let it possess you.
Yeah.
And then eat all the men who've done you wrong.
Eat all the boys. I mean, we're treated horribly all the time. Shouldn't we get the chance?
To just do that back.
Yeah.
Right? I don't know. No, I'm not saying we should do that.
No, we shouldn't eat people.
Don't eat people. Don't murder them. But, like, if you got a demon in you, that's not really you, is it? It's new you.
Yeah, it's new you who gives you the chance to exact revenge on potential rapists.
Yeah.
Or those who did you wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why. Yeah, that's
there with it, 100% yes.
Excellent.
Cool.
So we're going to be exploring today heroes that come in the unlikely form of the film's villains.
Yes.
But there are heroes to us.
Women.
Monstrous.
Yeah, facts. We tell you facts. All the facts. Yeah, facts. Still facts. About that spooky stuff. Yeah, spooky stuff.
All right, so I figured we'd start it out with the 15 female monsters you'll meet in a horror film. Specifically, just like women who are kind of like doing their thing.
Yeah.
And then turn into or are taken over by something or, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
To crazy monsters that usually wrap around the idea that either they've had sex
Or they're capable of having sex now.
Yeah.
Because of puberty. It's essentially an excuse for women to act out of the realm of womanliness. So it's like we don't have to be polite anymore because there's a monster inside of us. Or
we're
we are a
murdering and
monster.
eating people. Yeah, that's great.
Now we don't have to be so nice.
Blood comes out my parts, now it comes out of you. That's just where we're at.
I think that's an even exchange.
Equivalent exchange.
Well,
Monthly, I lose this much blood.
Therefore-
Now, that much blood must come out of all the people here.
okay.
That was a gross thing I just said. And here we are.
Yeah.
All right. Well, first,
Yeah.
the alien.
Yes.
So essentially it's kind of like that body snatching kind of thing where it's like, one, I think you see in a lot of alien movies is like the threat of alien pregnancy. But I don't think that that's what this is saying.
No.
It's more so that like someone has taken over the body and,
Yeah.
you know, is making them act different. So an example of a film that does that is one, The Faculty from 1998. And then it also mentions The Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
Go on. What's next?
Big cat. Well, they essentially lose their sanity and go a lot of that
And
crazy
they're a
times.
cat.
And they're a cat now.
Yeah.
So it's like, I'm a woman, but nah.
We women are felines.
We're on the prowl
Yeah. We're big kitties.
for your blood.
Nom nom noms.
Yeah, that. So the next is the cannibal.
Yeah.
So, you know, when women just like start eating people, that's like a big time. You don't want that.
Yeah.
But in the specific movies that they're talking about, it's called Frightmare. And it's about someone who's like genetically, it's like a trait within them that like makes them want to go around eating people.
Yeah.
So
Like a
that's really
Rougarou.
stressful. It's like you can't even change it. It's just like,
That's what you are.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
So-
you're iron deficient, so we got to make up for somewhere.
yeah. And I think that I could definitely see that just being a fear in general of like, you always see like the worst. We watched that video recently with the woman who's like going down on a gentleman.
Yep.
And then instead of just doing that
She rips off his penis with her mouth.
with her mouth, yep. That's
That
what
was a
happens.
music. That was a music video that my boyfriend that made us watch. Which
Yeah.
is thanks.
It
You.
was great. But I think there's like a fear of that
Yeah.
in general, just because like that's the thing
There
that
is.
could happen. So like cannibalism. The demon, which is from what we're talking about specifically within Jennifer's Body, and
Yep.
there's countless other movies that touch upon that, like The Exorcist and
Yeah.
specifically The Evil Dead, Night of Demons, lots of that.
Mm-hmm.
But essentially that there's something taking over what was once an innocent woman who was not going around murdering and killing people,
Yeah.
but instead is now just like kind of acting on like carnal, crazy desires, usually in a like succubus like way.
Yeah.
And that they're taking.
I will say this. I think what's
Stuff from
different
men.
between Jennifer's body and the other ones mentioned is that generally the demon is perceived to be a male demon inside a female body, which with Jennifer's body, because it's a succubus, it's not really gendered in any way. It's just Jennifer is now a demon.
Yeah.
So it has a different take than, say, The Exorcist, where it's very clearly a male demon who's making her say all these things. It's not her as like a demon version of herself saying the things that she might have wanted to say.
So interesting. Yeah. The next one is the ghost, which it basically talks about, I guess, the original version of The Ring.
Yeah. Japanese.
And how like that was terrifying in its own way, but then like kind of like this idea of this ghost woman that can get you and like take you away
Yeah.
and murder you brutally and all that other really scary fun stuff.
And I think the important thing about Japanese ghosts and what they do well is that the Japanese ghosts tend to be there because of a horrendous wrongdoing that came upon them. So it's like it's revenge in that way. So like
vengeance,
thinking of like
definitely.
I think Shudder with the camera, that ending is absolutely one of the most impactful ones I've ever seen. And with The Ring and or what's the ghost one?
The Grudge?
The Grudge. Like that one, that ending, like thinking about what happened to her and why she's a ghost, like, come on. They do that really well. And so it's like in our afterlife, now we have the power to fight back. And, it happens to be against the wrong people, but.
Yeah, but basically, like, it's just so interesting, I guess, that, like, culturally, women have just been wronged so much that vengeance is just something that's expected of us to want.
Yeah.
Which I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's just like a really real fear that's like so creatively played out in media.
They do really well.
And the way like they portray women as monsters is just always really interesting. This one I don't really understand what it is, but it's the Gorgon. Which
like a big
is
monster woman.
Monster from Greek mythology. It's essentially where you petrify people.
Yeah, it's Medusa.
Yeah, which that makes sense to me, but I didn't know what a Gorgon was. So
And Medusa's cursed. So yeah, because she happened to love the wrong man. And so an evil goddess was like, now you can't look at anybody, your hair snakes. Try to brush that. You think you're so pretty?
You can't look at anybody, your hair's snakes.
Yeah, you heard it here, guys.
That's what happens. Don't have sex. The insect, which is called the wasp woman.
Nice.
Sorry, I just think that's funny and it's not. But that like essentially there's like a subject that gets tested with royal jelly and it goes wrong and science happens and it turns her into a murderous insect woman.
With insect women, I will say this. It makes me think of Buffy, in which there was a praying mantis woman. And so the idea was like she would have sex and then she would like behead the male. And that's like what she was looking for. So that in that way, like female insects tend to be pretty hardcore. Like you have black widows and like praying mantis and all those. It's like when we're done doing what we need, you're dead now. Like that's it. What do we need you for? So like for a female, like a human, for a human to now do that is like a whole new thing. It's
Yeah,
like,
no, it definitely
okay,
makes sense why it's scary.
We're an insect. We have to. Yeah. Those are my 2 cents.
So just like when you go on a Tinder date
Yep.
and it's going really well, so choice. They come home with you.
Yeah.
And you're feeling good about it, and then you get yours.
Yeah.
Then you just behead him. It just happens.
You just rip his head off
with your hands.
with your hands.
There's no weapons. It's just
It's
like
done. You're done. You did it. That's what sex is. You're welcome. We've taught you.
everyone who hasn't had it. There you go.
Yeah.
That's what happens
Learn about it.
when you're done.
This is sex
Just rip their head off
education
the
with
body.
the
It's
ghouls
great.
next door.
The snake, Night of the Cobra Woman. Yeah. It's unsurprisingly a really trashy film, according to this article.
Yeah.
Basically, a nurse is bitten by a cobra and becomes a snake woman. So she stays young and beautiful, but with a steady diet of venom and sex.
Yeah. I will say that snake women who are often either exoticized as snakes or dragons, tend to be of like Asian descent or African.
Yeah.
Because they're exotic. So they're like animals. And so they're like this like beautiful yet venomous creature is how they're perceived. So that one I feel like is less empowering because of the way it's been used in history.
Yeah.
But it is prevalent in those things. Like that's why it's always just like the dragon lady, and it's like
Yeah.
a poor Asian woman who's just like, this isn't even the right ethnicity for me. Like you just picked me and put me because I'm Asian. It's not right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Telekinetic.
Yeah.
Carrie.
Yep.
If you've not seen Carrie, that's when blood comes out of your lady parts and then you make blood happen everywhere else. That's kind of where I'm at with Carrie. Essentially, she's bullied and it gets really bad and she's like kind of tortured and just it's what happens when you really just have like you try to dominate a woman for too long and then they have their like teenage years where they gain power. In this case, telekinetic powers.
Yeah.
And like they make up for all that time that they didn't have a choice or freedom, and now they're like, well, yeah, now you're dead. All your friends are dead.
Well, Carrie's definitely very suppressed and very bullied. But the real trauma comes from, and I'll talk about it in my section too, is just like her becoming a woman and how she's gawked at. But it also unleashes her feminine powers, which happens to be telekinesis.
Yeah.
But
the people were rude for so long. So
and that was a cat person.
I was just trying to tell the story of Carrie.
Yep.
And then the dangerous vagina.
Yep. We will talk about the dangerous vagina.
We sure will. Teeth.
Yep.
Everyone's heard of it. I at least think so.
Stay tuned next month.
Yeah, so we're going to definitely talk about that next month, but essentially it's like the danger of, raping people, and that when that happens, you don't know what's down there. The vagina is a mysterious land.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's apparently an innate fear that Freud wrote about was the monstrous vagina that would have teeth, and that all women have the potential to destroy your manhood. Thanks, Freud.
Cool. All right. The vampire, which I mean, I think that's in both genders pretty often, but specifically, there's the movie The Near Dark, and countless others, basically where women do the thing that Dracula did and instead lure the men.
Queen of the Damned. And then we're going to talk about some vampires next month too.
Yeah. Stay tuned. Not this episode, but other ones.
Yeah.
And then The Witch, which is something we've talked about pretty frequently.
Yeah.
Where they have a deal with the devil and they're coming for you.
Yeah.
And The Wolf, which is from Ginger Snaps, which is something we're also going to mention when we're talking about Jennifer's Body, because there's actually a lot of similarities between the two movies. But this is about how puberty awakens this like she-wolf like creature, and you can't control yourself. You're eating and murdering and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Because women times.
Tragic women times.
Yeah. That's all I got. Those are the 13 monsters.
That's excellent.
You're welcome, world.
So what we're going to explore is this concept that is the first line of Jennifer's Body, which is hell is a teenage girl. So it's this idea of these monstrous women who find their power usually through this transitional period in which they get their period or through their first sexual experience. So when you're thinking of Carrie, we see like a lowly girl who's tortured by her peers and her own crazy religious mother until she snaps after several traumatizing events that revolve around her becoming a woman. So like it's her, losing her virginity, or not her virginity, what am I saying? Getting her period in the showers, getting ridiculed, and then being coated in pig's blood.
Yeah. And
so it's just kind of like this like comparison of women and pigs, which has happened in literature quite a lot. So in films like this, we are allowed to explore what it would be like for our female bodies to give us the means to exact revenge on those that have wronged or killed us. Our maturity and pain, aka our period, is a transforming event that usually causes a change in our perception of reality and the way the world sees us. So, like, when you get your period, we are now women.
Yeah.
We can
have babies.
Yeah, we can have children. We can get married. We can fulfill our womanly duties. So the world sees us differently. And so inwardly, we're also changing as well. So it's like, that's why it's this like pinpointed transformational time for these monstrous women. So it's like, okay, our bodies are changing. We can now essentially have sex in all that. But it's like, God forbid we enjoy that or revel in our femininity, because then we risk being dubbed a monstrous woman.
Yeah.
You know, and it's the difference between like thinking about the final girl, the blonde victim, and the monstrous woman. With the final girl, she's generally a virgin. So she didn't have sex. So she's saved because she's pure. She's wholesome.
Yeah.
You know, with the blonde victim, the difference between that and the monstrous woman is that the blonde victim has sex and enjoys it. Right?
Yeah.
But it's just like, she just happens to be a promiscuous woman who's having sex, right? With a monstrous woman, it's using sex as a weapon.
Yeah.
So it totally transforms it.
So you're like turning the tables on men, essentially.
Yeah. Because like the blonde victim is still a tool and still a victim to the male counterparts in these stories. Whereas the monstrous woman is using her sexuality as a tool in a way that like men get away with all the time. And like in a way that's unique from the way that men do it. So like we had watched a YouTube video and they explained how in what we'll talk about in Jennifer's Body is essentially that people aren't on guard around her. There's no reason to be alarmed because she's a woman. You know, like if a man did the things that she's doing, you'd run for the hills.
Yeah, you'd be like, oh gosh, no. Run away.
Yeah.
This is the worst. She's terrifying, or he's terrifying. He's trying to do sex upon me and I don't want it. You already are like inclined. But as a man approached by a woman who's like offering herself, your guards are down. So having the roles reversed is really awesome with Jennifer's Body. So we'll definitely jump into that. But I read this amazing study by Barbara Creed about monstrous women in horror films. So she talks about in The Exorcist that there's this idea of creating an other out of the otherwise known character. So taking Reagan and possessing her with a demon now transforms Reagan into something else. Yeah.
Right. And so with this being able to become something else, she can now say things that Reagan otherwise wouldn't be able to.
Yeah.
She now has power and voice. And like, she's so, you know, it's kind of uncomfortable. And she is possessed by presumably a male demon if demons have genders. But for films like these, women are now over-sexualized or monstrously sexualized through this transformation. So they allow them to be sexualized and confident in these areas. So in The Exorcist, all of Reagan's sexuality is brought to the viewer's attention by the fact that she is possessed by a demon, which causes her to shout obscenities and her desire to act on her sexual impulses. Like she does all those like gross things.
Yeah.
Like, and like talks about her mom and like all those really awful things.
Yeah.
And like the priest mom and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And in Jennifer's Body, which we'll discuss more in the film section, where Jennifer had already been aware of her sexuality and used it as a tool, we do get this impression that she's not exactly like in control all the way. Like she's still kind of innocent.
Yeah.
Like that's why she's like immediately a victim. Like in the beginning, like Jennifer, like real Jennifer, pre-demon Jennifer is 100% a victim.
Yeah.
And she's preyed upon because she's innocent, because she's not really a powerful force. She's just a woman who happened to be beautiful and knew that like in a small town she can get what she wants. But when it comes to like the real world and like an actual predator, she doesn't stand a chance. But when she's transformed into a succubus, her sexuality is a weapon. And she uses it against the boys in town. Yeah. And now she can exact revenge on them after presumably being raped by the band. Yeah. Like, because there's really no other way to imagine that story.
Yeah.
Then that's what happened if we were going to translate it into reality.
So you know, when you don't get demonized and stuff.
Yeah. Because that's what it wasn't so much that she's demonized, is that that's her reaction
Yeah.
I'm not gonna get there because we're gonna talk.
No, but
about
it's really
it.
interesting.
Yeah, like that's like a
it.
form of coping. That's a coping mechanism. Is that she's now become the monster. But she becomes the monster, and now her openness, her beauty, and sexual appetite make her a villain. Right. And so Creed goes on to talk about that whole fear of the castrating woman, which we will be exploring because we will talk about teeth next month. But this is the idea of a woman overpowering and mutilating men through sex.
Yeah.
And it's usually with this personification of the vagina having teeth and like devouring the penis. Because like you're vulnerable as a man. That's like the one time you're vulnerable is when your penis is inside the vagina. So if she could bite it off.
Very fair.
Yeah. And I just think it's like what I found very interesting in watching this and just thinking about the Monstrous Woman was like that it's kind of like this idea in like Disney films that the woman who's like wants to pursue her own happiness or like get things her own way and not just like go about and succumb to the world or become the wife or whatever is the villain. So you have things like Maleficent, who like is running an entire kingdom. You know, you have what's her name, octopus lady,
Ursula.
Yeah, Ursula, who's doing what she's doing. And it's like she also was running like her own crime syndicate. You know, and like the girl signed the contract.
Yeah.
She's a 16-year-old girl who wanted to change herself for a boy. Which one of these is the hero here?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't think Ursula is a hero, but it's this idea that like when a woman comes into her own and uses her stuff and her like mind and her body in this way that like not only empowers her, but also exacts revenge, that's when they become the Monstrous Woman.
Yeah.
So those are my kind of epiphanies in regards to ladies. I did so much research, guys. I got so excited. I went on this like deep dig. It was like a black hole of information where I was just like, I need more.
Did you learn everything?
I have so much more to learn.
Educate me, Gabe.
Honestly, Barbara Creed, you're amazing. If by some chance you ever listen to us, one, I hope that we did you a solid in your representation. But she's got a lot of information that is going to come up. You were going to hear her name a lot.
Cool.
Because she does it. She talks about like in the way that you were talking about those 13 different ways. She also talks about those. So she talks about like the alien being this like mother. She talks about the possessed woman. She talks about the witch. Like it goes on forever. But she talks about them in the way that they're represented in horror.
Yeah, it's probably a better article than the one I read.
Well, it's also very long and very expensive. But I just think like it's so interesting because we've done the possessed women. We talked about like possibly being unwell. And with exorcism films, like those women are victims because they're being taken advantage of in ways. So with something like this, where you're possessed by a succubus, it totally turns it on its head.
Yeah.
Films. We watch some films. Now let's talk about those films. And all that spooky stuff. And all that spooky stuff.
All right, so one of the monstrous women that we're going to talk about is Jennifer.
Yeah. She was very scary.
Played by Megan Fox.
She did a lot of eating of people.
She did. And it was great.
Chomp chomp.
It was gory. So if you haven't seen Jennifer's Body, I totally understand. Because it definitely doesn't look like it makes sense that we watch it because we watch anything horror. And me personally, Gabe here. It's your Gabe here. But like I enjoy slasher films and I love the hokey ones and things that play on absurd realities. And that's what Jennifer's Body is.
Yeah.
So, but also reevaluating it and thinking about it and understanding that it was this rather half-hearted or not exactly, I'd say it's a poorly executed feminist film in that when you're looking at it and you're thinking, like, you're reading or watching interviews with the director, it's like, oh, she wanted it to be perceived a different way. It did not end up that way.
Yeah. It was very misunderstood.
Yeah. I think it had the opportunity to be way more than it was. And for instead to make money,
Yeah.
it became what it is. So Jennifer's Body came out in 2009, and it's about a newly possessed high school cheerleader who turns into a succubus who specializes in killing her male classmates. Can her best friend put an end to the horror? So
No.
she does. She does put an end.
She does. I'm kidding.
Spoilers, she does.
I'm kidding.
Fun fact, when you look up this film on IMDb, the first two keywords associated with it is lesbian teen and sexy woman, which says a lot about this film, honestly.
Yeah.
I did feel that when I watched like YouTube videos and we read more about it, the lesbian like undertones definitely are there when you're looking back, but I really felt like we didn't need them. I felt like because it wasn't fully fledged, that it didn't have any place there, essentially. Like,
Yeah. I mean, I didn't realize it until it was like they, as you said, like they were just, spoilers, making out. And I was like, what?
Yeah.
This wasn't. And then like we watched the YouTube video and I was like, I guess. Yeah, now I see it. But like also it was just like, yeah, as you said, it wasn't done right.
Yeah, it felt kind of tacked on the way that I felt like the lesbian scene in Black Swan was, where it's just like, let's get viewers, so we're going to get two hot actresses to make out with each other. But I think when you're looking at it, it definitely could be perceived that way. And I think the difference between the Black Swan scene and this one is that Megan Fox's character, Jennifer, is manipulative. And if Amanda Seyfried's character, Needy, if she did have any kind of feelings for her, that would be the perfect way to manipulate her. But I felt like it really devalued their friendship by doing that, because I didn't feel like they really had a lesbian relationship, and I don't understand why it's not okay for them to just have a platonic relationship. Like, yeah, they held hands.
Like, you can have manipulative friends that are platonic. I've had them.
Yeah.
Like, where there's no sexual anything, and they understand, like, their control and connection over you, and they manipulate it. Like, that happens. So I agree. It didn't need to be done that way, unless they were going to do it better.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, if Needy was a lesbian, like, if she was, or if she's bisexual or whatever, but they made it more like it wasn't tacked on. Like, I don't know. Like, there was little things when you're looking back, like Jen is very flirtatious and all that, but I just really discounted that as just being a part of her.
Yeah.
Like, that's just who she is. And I didn't even really see her as, like, she definitely is manipulative and a bad friend, but even still, I didn't see it that way. My thing was, there's a scene at the beginning where Needy's going out to the bar. Yeah. And she's getting dressed, whatever. And I don't really care about talking about that scene, like her getting dressed. I think that the tone is weird, like her with, like, it's narrated, but the rest of the film isn't really like that. Yeah. So I guess it is kind of narrated, but it's like, it's narrated in this like third person point of view, whereas this one was a direct relation to Jennifer. Anyway, but there's this part where her boyfriend is like, he's just like, oh, you just do whatever she wants, whatever. And Needy goes, no, we have a lot in common. And it's supposed to be this joke because, like, they're not supposed to, because she's a nerdy girl and she's a cheerleader, whatever. I think it would have been so much stronger of a story if they did have things in common. Because I believed her when she said that. Yeah. I didn't think it was a joke. So I was expecting there to be, like,
some, like, genuine, nice, like, redeeming friendship qualities.
Yeah, like, I was expecting, like, scenes to come forth or her to reference times where they did, in fact, have things in common. Yeah. Because her whole idea of, like, what did she say? Sandbox friends don't die or something. And it's like, that's not true. Sandbox friends die all the time. Yeah. Like, you're never friends with your sandbox friends. Like, that's not how that works unless you're in a movie. So to me, it was like, that's a really pathetic excuse
As, like, the
for
reason
like why
that
they're
they're-
so friends.
yeah.
No, I think they actually did have stuff in common and that they did really care about each other. And I think if we drilled that home, I would have felt way stronger about their relationship and about what's happening to them.
100%. Yeah, there wasn't, I agree, it wasn't like done right in the sense that like you didn't really care about their friendship because like you didn't have any really good sections of it to be like, oh yeah, she's changed, or like, oh yeah, like they're really one side. Like you couldn't even really develop a view of what their friendship was because like you had like these weird moments that were just like extra for what reason, I don't know.
Yeah. And like, so another thing that I didn't enjoy was Diablo Cody's slang.
Oh
And
yeah, that was
we
the worst.
definitely picked up on it. Like, what she calls him salty or whatever. There's a lot of things. And what I, not having realized that it was by Diablo Cody who made Juno, I didn't really get that. And for some reason I was like, is this just slang I don't know? Like, is
Yeah.
this like a youth thing that I missed out on? Or my thing was, is this something very specific to this town? Like, is this a part, is this a place in America that I am just not familiar with the lingo? But it felt very forced and weird.
Yeah.
Because it's like, it sucks because like we're already trying to be established in this world that's different from ours. And then you're putting weird words on it. So now we also have to decode what people are saying. So that's a negative for me, Diablo. It's a no from me, dog.
Yeah, I would agree. There was definitely, it was strange.
Yeah. Another question people have is whether or not this film would have been a smash hit had it come out today.
Huh.
Yeah, so like Vox and somebody else had said like that this would have been like a feminist film and a cult classic had it come out today and not in 2009. Because in 2009 it wasn't like, I mean, we had feminism, but right now it's a thing, you know,
Yeah.
and it's a part in a discussion in media. For example, we're here. We're talking about it. But like, it also can't, it just, I think the problem wasn't entirely that it came out in 2009.
I would agree. I think it was trying to do a lot of really interesting things. And especially since we watched all those videos like explaining all those really interesting things.
Yeah.
And I don't think it did it right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think it would have been just as kind of weird now.
Yeah, I think that Karen Kusama, who is the director, tried really hard to make this film a feminist piece. And like when you're watching interviews with her and she's like highlighting these parts and like what her intentions were, you're like, oh, okay. But it definitely feels like it fell short. And that it kind of almost feels like her explanations and her intentions feel like afterthoughts. Like they made the film.
What, like J.K. Rowling?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Shade. Yo, you got some ointment for that burn? But like, yeah, it's just this idea that like she made the film and then she looked back and was like, that could be perceived as feminist. Or like, oh, I meant what I was meaning to do. Is like, okay, then why didn't you do that? Because the entire film is just like a sex trope, like, you know, fun time, gory mess, which is fun. But like, don't try to tell me that it's this feminist masterpiece when you didn't really try.
Or if you did try, you just didn't do it right. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, it just seems like her explanations are so late to like what it really was. But also in realizing that in the director's cut, there's a lot more information and there's more scenes that made everything a little more purposeful.
Yeah.
And that the theatrical release is where it just became like,
Hokey sex time.
yeah, it was just fan service for Megan Fox's bod, which is like sad. I really enjoyed Jennifer's character.
Yeah, no, it's like she acted
Yeah.
during parts of that movie, and I was genuinely impressed in like the scene where, you know, she was in the van
Yeah.
and get tied up and stuff. Like she acted. I was like, whoa, look
Yeah.
at you, huh?
Yeah.
So yeah, she did like a good job, and it is kind of like a shame that you kind of lose some of those moments and like her actually like doing a good job.
Yeah.
In the fact that they just like really played up like, here's my naked body.
Yeah.
When I'm dead, I look like my boobs are like up as like a dead Barbie doll lady. Like it's yeah.
Yeah, like where she is as a monster, Jennifer, as a succubus, she is, you know, using her body and she's feeding off of these boys and reversing these roles where the boys now have to carry pepper spray and the boys have to look out because there's a predator out there. And it would be perceived that this predator would probably be male. So that's also like no one's looking for her. But it didn't really feel like she utilized it entirely as much as she could have. It felt like she was just doing it because she had to do it. You know, like, oh, I'm going to look ugly. So even like her reasons, like when she like finds out like she's a god and stuff, she should have been more power hungry. The fact that she dwindled for an entire month before she fed again is absurd.
Yeah, it does seem really out of character. Like she didn't seem like she cared about it.
No.
So why is she acting like she cares about it? I mean, maybe she was scared she was gonna get caught. But like at the same time, I don't know.
No, because she's sloppy. And I think like she knows she's not an idiot, but she like just didn't have the right motivation. Like I felt like the power of this succubus could have been so much more beneficial in another monstrous woman than Jennifer. And like also, and that's why in Ginger Snaps it's different, because in Ginger Snaps we're taking a woman who is not seen. This is a woman who's like essentially the girl from what is the live action version of Taming of the Shrew?
I don't know.
Yeah. So it's like it's like taking the character of 10 Things I Hate About You, where she's like, society is all fucked and
My hair's in a ponytail.
Yeah, women are the scourge of the earth. We have to fight back. Blah 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 blah. And then giving her an awesome power like the wolf in Ginger Snaps, and then like now she can like really take her power back. Or something like Carrie, where you're having a girl who's just like ridiculed both at school and home by her crazy mom, and then she gets this power, and it's like, of course that's how she uses it to exact revenge at prom after being like teased. So then instead of having a similar story like that, we get a woman who already is kind of like as innocent as she was and taken advantage of. She still had some modicum of power.
Yeah.
Like she didn't really want for anything. Yeah. I think the important part of that is that she was a popular cheerleader. Everything was going well for her. But when we get to the bar and she's like trying to get these band men, she's reduced to like this like mousy, like she's not seductive at all.
Yeah.
In that. Like she tries to flirt, but she's fumbling. She's a
like
mess.
aware, because she's like an innocent, she's a teenager, and these are grown ass men who were like basically being creeps. And
and then she's like, oh, I'll go get you a drink. Like she doesn't even really know what to get. He doesn't even drink it. And it's like she just has no idea what to say, and then she's completely hypnotized. And so when they like take her away and she's in the van, that whole scene was so traumatizing to watch. And what angered me was Needy allowing it. Like, there's no way in hell, no matter how slutty my friend is perceived to be, that she's going to get in a rapey van with several men while she's clearly either in shock, intoxicated, or what have you, away from me. That's not going to happen.
Yeah, like you tackle her. You tackle your friend and apologize later. Yeah. Except you don't apologize because now they're not
you're
demon.
100% not getting in that van. You can fight me. And so for me, it's like Needy in a way was a contribution to that. She's also a villain. She's a terrible friend. And then she goes home and she doesn't call the cops. She calls her boyfriend. She's not like, hey, like, then they would have been on the radar, you know, like, where's this girl? This band took her, and then no one would have been, like, praising this band because they think they're creeps. They took a girl. Yeah. And then the whole scene of them with her in the woods, and, like, Diablo Cody claims that it's, like, phallic imagery, that they, like, stab her with a knife and all this stuff. And it is comic and all this stuff. And I think it could be. I think her dying is representative of her innocence dying.
Yeah.
that she's like ripped from this. She was innocent, and then when she comes out, she's a mess.
Yeah.
She's like, she's hideous. She's like all disheveled. She's bloody, and she like vomits. She's
Yeah.
like trying to eat. She's like, it's all this stuff that's like, who couldn't say that that's exactly a feeling that you would have had you
Yeah.
encountered rape?
Yeah.
And then she then proceeds to like lash out to people around her, to the people who are closest to her, needy, who abandon her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm there with you.
Sorry, I'm like going crazy. I just was like, I don't know. I feel like it had the potential. And when you're really, 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 really digging for gold, like I am, you can find it. But it could have done so much better for itself to have the gold out there.
Yeah.
And not so deep in having to wade through this water to get to it, you know?
Yeah.
Come on. Like I don't think that it's Jennifer's body should have been made now. I think something like Jennifer's body needs to be made now.
Yeah.
But better.
Yeah.
Like, I think we're owed it. We're owed a new monstrous woman, like Teeth or something, like other things that we're going to talk about. But we need the monstrous woman who has the power. And I don't think she needs to start the way that Carrie and Ginger Snaps did.
Yeah.
I think she can start like Jennifer did.
Yeah.
And show that even these women who are perceived to have all this power and confidence are also weak and also like have vulnerability.
Like the biggest thing is, as the movies, it's like that they're insecure.
Yeah.
Like
that we're
Jennifer's
women.
insecure. Like as people, like it's just natural. You're a teenager. You can be as pretty as you need to be, but everyone has insecurities. And to assume because of how someone like looks that they're this like thing.
Yeah.
It's like, no, we're people. Everyone's insecure and stressed out and innocent until they're not. And
Yeah.
yeah.
It's essentially that ideology that like what you're wearing constitutes rape.
Yeah.
Like what Jennifer is means that she should be treated that way. Like so we can write it off and she's the villain, you know?
Yeah.
Whereas if something like that happened to Needy and Needy were to become that, it would be a whole different story.
Oh yeah, 100%.
And like also just a side thing is I really love, because they're teenage girls, the argument they have in the pool where she's just like, why did you only like, you did not have to come after my boyfriend, but you did it to get to me.
Yeah.
And just being like, is it because you're so insecure? And she's like, I'm not insecure. I won the snowflake queen, whatever. And it's just like, that's why you're insecure. So like they're having this conversation, and the fact that it's about that Jennifer was like going to eat and murder her Needy's boyfriend, like just take that context out. And this was a legitimate, like, let's be frank, you're a shitty friend. And like, I'm not like, you are lashing out at me and attacking me, blah, blah, blah. Like if you took that into like real life situations, like that's a legit conversation, and it was awesome.
Yeah.
And I thought it was so funny and amazing to have, because it was such a serious traumatic situation happening.
Yeah.
And to put over that this like snarly like teenage drama was perfect. And I wish it was that way the whole time.
Yeah.
That was like gold. That to me was like, oh, Diablo Cody, you're doing it. You're doing a thing
Yeah, look at you.
where you're putting teenagers and you're making it real and you're putting over this dramatic situation.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah. And then the movie was just how the whole thing was.
Yeah.
It was bizarre. I still enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I did actually.
I'll talk about it for feelings. I had some.
Well, what about other scenes and things? Anything stick out to you?
I guess it did get a lot of like critiques of the murder scene. Mm-hmm. In that like it kind of desensitized, I guess, what would be raping or murdering a person, a woman specifically, and by making it comedic. But I definitely thought it was needed to be a little comedic if this was like a horror comedy in its own right.
Yeah.
Because like, one, this guy is just so clearly evil.
Yeah.
You just like watch him walk all around. He's clearly evil. He's like not even hiding the fact that he's evil.
My little teen heart breaks.
Yeah.
I love the OC.
But he was so evil. Like it was so blatantly and openly evil.
Yeah, he doesn't give a crap about ladies.
He was just like, whatever. I don't care. Look at you, stupid. Murder now.
And it's like they're laughing that she even thinks that they want to have sex with her.
Yeah.
Like that's a very valid assumption when you're trapped in a van with several men.
Yeah. No, yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
But I just thought it was like, it was interesting. I guess this is where my messed up mind went, is that when it started to happen, my thoughts were, oh, that's kind of nice. They're trying to distract her
Yeah.
from all the murder that's about to happen.
Yeah.
And which is just like, what?
Yeah.
No, they're still murdering her. Why is that my thought right now?
Yeah.
But like my immediate thought was like, oh, that's so nice. He's trying to make it a little less scary by distracting her before he, you know, stabs her a million times.
Yeah. But I think with that scene, what's really, really remarkable is Jennifer's character.
Yeah.
Like when she is so clearly confused and lost and just totally out of like her range of abilities, like just being there and being like, I am so fucked. Like, how did I get here?
Yeah.
And like having to come to terms with she acts, and she's honestly, I felt so strongly for her in that part. I was just like, she is like just a victim. She's this young girl. She's 16. And she's surrounded by these men. She has no idea what they're going to do. And no one thinks they're going to be sacrificed for profit or whatever.
Yeah.
And like their reasonings are really funny. And that's why it goes into the horror comedy. But I really think she showed through with that. And like her looking at them as they're singing and being so bewildered and just being like, oh, is this a joke? Am I going to be okay? Like seeing that in her eyes is so amazing. It was so great because then immediately they're just like stabbing her and then she's dying. But it's like for that moment we had like real acting, we had real emotion, we had a real situation, and it's like over that we're hearing like 8675309. I was like, this is phenomenal. This is what horror comedy is supposed to be.
Yeah, it was great, and I definitely disagreed that it was anything insensitive. I thought it was a fantastic scene.
Yeah.
Blew me away. It was hilarious, yet tragic, yet all these other emotions. It was a full range.
Yeah.
And I thought it was really great.
I think with
I think that's about when I stopped enjoying the movie though.
Yeah.
For being really honest.
It was like, yeah, it was very long for what it was.
Yeah.
I think for me, and this is just a personal feeling I always have, is that if we just treated women in film equally, and we didn't have these stereotypes, and we didn't have to constantly fight back and make work that needed to be feminist. Like if this could just have been a slasher in the way that it was supposed to be without needing to be feminist, then it would have done so much better. Like if they didn't try and they just made a really funny horror comedy that just happened to have like a woman in it. So like thinking of The Babysitter. On Netflix. That's phenomenal. And there's no like need for feminism really. Cause in a way it's already surpassed that.
Yeah.
Like we don't need to talk about how great it is because it should just be expected.
Yeah.
You know, like we shouldn't be like, ooh, a woman's on screen. Or like, oh, a villain.
Well, maybe that's kind of telling to the fact that it was from 2009.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And I think like seeing that and then seeing The Babysitter, where you have this woman who is a teen girl who is evil and doing all this stuff. And it was a horror comedy.
Yeah.
It was profoundly done. And it didn't need to. It didn't need to make jokes. Like she was sexualized in a way, but it was almost like that part in itself was laughable. Because it's through the eyes of this like young boy. Of course he's gonna be like, ooh, my babysitter, she's so hot. And then it's like, that's not even anything.
Yeah.
You know, there's like a makeout scene between two girls, still nothing. Like that's nothing compared to like all the blood that happens and all the crazy situations and
it's
fighting
like kind of
back.
like an undertone instead of the main point.
Yeah, and like her rapport with the boy and how like even when they're fighting, they have this like connection and like she actually really cares for him. That's amazing. That's amazing story right there. Jennifer, we could have did that. Like it could have been not Jennifer's body. It could have been slut becomes gets vengeance against that without having to be about rape, without having to be about feminism. It would have been a really great story.
Yeah.
Diablo, get it back together. Let's get the gang back together and let's fix it. Let's make a new one. It's just 2019.
Too much. Like it was like they were trying to be subtle, and they like were
Yeah.
bad at it. Like they just were really bad at it. That's what I
Yeah.
was
I think they fell short and they ended up in the same place at, like, if a man tried to do it. Mm-hmm. Where it's almost like, why even bother if you're not going to do it right?
Yeah.
You know? It's
You know
like,
what?
well, this isn't Joss Whedon. You're a lady. You should know.
Yeah. I mean, the man did say this. His name's Ron Swanson.
Yeah.
He said, never half-ass two things. Whole-ass one thing.
Yeah. And that's what they should have did. They should have whole-assed this film, and they didn't. They 100% half-assed several things.
Yeah. Put your whole ass into it.
Yeah. Back that whole ass up into it.
Yeah. Back that whole ass up.
Yeah.
Feelings. Yeah, feelings. Yeah, feelings. Yeah, I said feelings. Let's talk about feelings. Okay. And all that spooky stuff. I love spooky stuff.
So if you like it, it's, hey Jenny, I got your number. And if you don't like it, it's needy needs to be less needy.
Okay.
So for this idea of monstrous women,
Hey, Jenny, I got your number. You know, I mean, I like the whole concept. It's very interesting.
yeah,
It's a fascinating thing. And I'm really excited for us to like really delve into it throughout this month and next month and in the new year, new us.
yeah,
Getting all
Year, new
historical up in here. Yeah, I like that. I enjoyed it. I'm excited to talk about it more.
yeah. I'm excited to start out this year. Yeah, I hope our listeners are on board. We want to talk about stuff. We want to educate you. We want to get educated because it's media. It is used as a tool. We got to take advantage of it.
Yeah.
So 8675309. Great.
Stabbing your ears with our words.
Yeah,
You're welcome.
You're welcome. What about Jennifer's body?
Ugh.
It's needy needs to be less
It
needy.
needs to be less needy. I don't know. I didn't like it. I don't really know how to explain it further than that. I just It was really long.
It was long.
And also, I was just like, why? Like, half the movie, I was just like, why?
Yeah.
And it was fine. I just, I don't know. I didn't love it. It was not one of our favorite things that we've watched. I was happy when it was done. So I wanted to go to bed.
Yeah.
And, yeah, I don't know. I just thought it could have been done so much better. And, I found it significantly more interesting once we watched the YouTube videos explaining what the heck it was about.
Yeah.
But, before that, if I just watched that without all the other, research and YouTube videos, I would have thought it was a terrible movie.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. I think it fell short. You really have to dig for those gems. And I happen to really like to dig. But I watching it just originally, I don't know, I enjoyed it. But I also just, enjoy things to enjoy them, you know?
Yeah.
So I think, I don't know, I thought it was cute. It got weird in places. I was very interested in the storytelling aspect because it changed a few times and it was very peculiar. Jen retelling what happened was such a weird move to happen. But I really liked that it was so weird.
It was an interesting movie. I just didn't love it. I guess it's more, I didn't hate it.
Yeah.
By any means. I was I watched it. It was cool. I just if I didn't see the other stuff, I would have had no idea really why any of it happened.
Yeah. I wouldn't say it's my favorite ever. But I did enjoy it and I'm glad it exists and I'm glad that there is this kind of revival happening because I'm hoping that will spur people not to just be oh, that would have been a good movie, and instead inspire them to make the good movie.
Yeah. I'm for it. Do it.
Yeah. Or give us money. We'll do it.
Okay.
Give us to our Patreon and we'll do it.
Yeah. Come on. Donate, man. Make films.
Yeah.
Haramity for the win.
Yeah. Monstrous women are great. I like this topic. I can't wait.
Test me.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Well, I hope you're having a wonderful new year. I hope you kiss someone
Yeah,
that you love, that you didn't eat them.
Or just like, hey, friend. Remember we were just friends? I'm going to touch your face.
Okay, make sure it's consensual and that that person
Yeah, that's what
wants
I'm
you to
saying.
touch their
you
face.
Ask, you say, hey, can I touch your face? And they're like, hey, yeah, that sounds fucking great.
Yeah.
And then you grab their face with both hands and you put your mouth on their mouth. And it's really romantic and great and everyone's in love now. And that's just what happens.
Okay.
You're
Well,
welcome, world. Dating me.
Yeah, I say
That's what that's like.
new year, new me. Stay tuned. We're going to talk about new people. And it's not all just monstrous women. That'll come up all the time because that's what we do here at the Ghouls Next Door. But yeah, we're going to go on an adventure of finding some new people, whether for good or bad. And maybe we'll transform into beautiful butterflies. Well, let us know what your New Year's resolutions are. We are dying to hear about them. You can tweet at us. You can send it to our email at theghouls.nextdoor@gmail.com.
Yeah, and like, if you're typing your New Year's resolution into our iTunes comments after rating us, that's an option.
That's a good one.
For sure.
Yeah. My New Year's resolution is to get you to subscribe, comment on iTunes.
Yeah, do it.
Yeah.
Thanks, friends.
Well, we love you.
We love you.
And don't get married.
Because they'll eat your kids, or you can eat them.
Because you're a monstrous woman. Yeah. Who run the world?
Girls.
Monstrous girls.
I got too excited.
Okay. Bye.